ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
Good morning. So let us continue with alkyl halides. Today we are going to study the characteristic of leaving group. So let us recollect what we have studied in the last class. We have studied SN2 mechanism. In SN2 mechanism, carbon halogen bond is cleaved or broken. Carbon halogen bond is cleaved. The halide ion is removed, right? So that halide ion we call it as leaving group. The halide ion we call it as leaving group. In nucleophilic substitution reaction, nucleophile replaces halide ion. Nucleophile replaces this halogen or halide ion, which we call it as leaving group. So this is a general representation. So today's topic is what is a good leaving group. What is the characteristic of a good leaving group? Now why we have to study this? The halide ion is removed. If it can be easily removed, then the rate of reaction will be high, right? So whatever the group you are removing, we call it as a leaving group. If you can easily remove this leaving group, right, then the rate of reaction, rate of SN2 reaction or rate of nucleophilic substitution reaction will be high. So what makes a good leaving group? What is a characteristic of a good leaving group? Right. So a good leaving group is one which stabilizes the ion, which stabilizes after its removal, right? Once you remove it, whatever the group you are getting, it should be stabilized. Now if you see most of the nucleophilic substitution reaction, the leaving group leaves with negative charge. So mostly they are removed as a species that carry negative charge. So here X is removed as X minus. So most of the leaving group, they carry which charge? Negative charge. If this ion, if this species, if it can stabilize the negative charge, then it becomes a good leaving group. I repeat, if it can stabilize this charge, then it becomes a good leaving group. But charge is bad. Any charge, whether it is positive charge or negative charge, it doesn't matter, charge is bad. Why? Because if I have a positive charge, it will try to attract negative charge, thereby it tries to neutralize the charge. If I have a negative charge, it will try to attract positive charge. So charge, whether it is positive or negative, doesn't matter, it tries to neutralize by attracting oppositely charged ions. In that process, it itself undergo the change, nothing but reaction. So this ability depends upon the magnitude, its reacting ability depends upon the magnitude. Higher the magnitude, more readily it accepts, it attracts the oppositely charged ion. So simple answer, charge is bad, any charge, it is bad. So here we are considering a species that carries negative charge. If the magnitude of the negative charge is less, then its stability is more, then it becomes a good leaving group. So what we have concluded is a good leaving group is one which stabilizes the ion after leaving. Mostly they are negatively charged ion, whether it is negative or positive doesn't matter, charge is bad. So the ion has to stabilize that negative charge. So here I am slightly deviating. If I take a negatively charged species, take any negatively charged species, B minus, or let us say our halide ion itself, any negatively charged species, they are considered as, they act as Lewis base. This already we have studied in the first year. What are Lewis bases? All negatively charged ions, all anions, they are Lewis bases. A strong Lewis base is one which readily reacts. A weak Lewis base is one which reacts poorly, which reacts at slower rate. So, if it is a weak base, then its reactivity will be less or its stability will be more. So, the leaving group should be more stabilized, that means it should be a weak base. So, the conclusion is a good leaving group is one which is a weak base, which is a weak base. I repeat, any negatively charged species, it can act as Lewis base. If it is a strong Lewis base, it reacts at faster rate. If it is a weak base, it reacts at slower rate. If it reacts at slower rate means this ion, the negatively charged ion is stable. That is what we are trying to find. So, it will be stable if it is a weak Lewis base. That means a good leaving group is one which is a weak base. So, a good leaving group is one which is a weak base. A weak base reacts at slower rate because its basicity is, its acidity is less. So, let us take some other point, for example, acidic strength. Suppose if I take hydrogen halides, let us take HI, HBr, HCl, HF, they are nothing but hydrogen halides. All are acids, right? Now, we have already studied the acidic strength order, so I am directly writing the acidic strength order of hydrogen halides follows this order. HI greater than HBr, HBr greater than HCl, HCl greater than HF. So, here HI is strong acid, HF is comparatively weak acid. This is what we are concluding. Now, I am writing the corresponding conjugate base strength. Basic strength of conjugate base. So, what is the conjugate base of HI? I minus. Here you will get Br minus, here you will get Cl minus, here you will get F minus. A strong acid has weak conjugate base. So, this must be weak conjugate base. A weak acid has strong conjugate base. So, what is the basic strength order? It decreases in this order, I minus less than Br minus, Cl minus, F minus. Now, what we have studied, a good leaving group is one which is a weak base. So, in these anions, which is weak base? I minus. Which is strong base? F minus. So, which is good leaving group? If you have iodine in alkyl halide Ri, then you will get I minus. I minus is more stable than F minus. Why I minus is more stable? Because I minus is a weak base. Therefore, iodine, if it is present as alkyl halide, right, it can be easily removed. It is a good leaving group. That is the point we have to understand. So, here, or let us write like this. Let us consider some SN2 reactions of these alkyl halides. Say I am taking a base OH minus reacting with some alkyl halide RCH2I. So, what happens? Right, let us take same base reacting with RCH2Br, OH minus taking the same base RCH2Cl, OH minus RCH2F. If you see, the attacking nucleophile is same, that is OH minus. Here the nature of alkyl group is same, all are primary alkyl halides. Now what is the difference in all these? Halogen. What is the difference? Halogen. So what happens? You will get the respective product, that is nothing but RCH2OH, RCH2OH, RCH2OH. Now what is the leaving group? The leaving group is I minus. Here it is I minus, here it is Br minus, here it is Cl minus, here it is F minus. Now do they have same rate of reaction? Do the reaction takes place at same speed? The answer is no. First thing, the new attacking nucleophile is same, so it does not affect. The alkyl group is also same, so it is independent of the structure of alkyl group. It depends upon what? The ability of halide ion to leave, that is nothing but whether it is a good leaving group or not. Now iodine, after removal you will get I minus, Br after removal you will get Br minus, Cl after removal you will get Cl minus, F after removal you will get F minus. Which anion is more stable? The one which is weak base. Which is weak base? I minus is a weak base. Therefore this is more stable anion, that means it is a good leaving group. This is poor leaving group. So what I can write? As you move from top to bottom, the rate of SN2 reaction increases. Rate of SN2 reaction increases. Because here I minus is a good leaving group, Lg leaving group, good leaving group. Now this is poor leaving group. So I minus is a good leaving group. Now as you come down, right, the ability to leave or the stability of corresponding anion decreases. Now this is poor leaving group. F minus is poor leaving group because it is strong conjugate base. That is why alkyl fluorides are poor substrates. They are not good reactants in SN2. Alkyl fluorides are poor substrate. Substrate means reactant. Poor reactant in SN2 because F minus is not good leaving group, because F minus is a strong conjugate base. If it is strong conjugate, what is the meaning of strong conjugate base? It reacts at faster rate. That means F minus cannot stabilize itself, therefore its reactivity is more. So reverse reaction may also takes place. That is why it is a poor leaving group. So it is difficult to break carbon fluorine bond. That is why alkyl fluorides are poor substrate in SN2 reaction. They are not good reactants. Alkyl iodides are good reactant because I minus is good leaving group. And one more point, if I take sulfuric acid, it is very strong acid. Sulfuric acid is a strong acid. If I take some alkyl derivatives, for example ROSO3H, similarly RSO3H, alkyl sulfonates, their acidity is similar to that of sulfuric acid. Whether you take alkyl substituted sulfonic acids, their acidic strength is similar to that of sulfuric acid. That means they also behave like strong acids. So if they are strong acids, their conjugate base, their conjugate base are weak base and they can be used as good leaving groups. Right? Let us see some examples. Suppose if I take CH3 so what is the name of this? Methyl sulfonate ion. Sulfate ion. Similarly, now why it is a weak base or a good leaving group? The reason is this negative charge, it involves in resonance. So the negative charge is stabilized by resonance. You can write like this: polarization of the charge. It results in the formation of a double bond between sulfur oxygen. Either this double bond or this double bond can be migrated, any one. So that means the negative charge is actually delocalized on these 3 and sulfur oxygen atoms. So it is not concentrated or localized on one atom. If it is delocalized, charge density will be less. Therefore, the available charge on the anion per unit atom is less. That means its ability to attract the oppositely charged ion decreases. That means its reactivity decreases. Therefore, it is a good leaving group. Similarly, you can write some more. So this is methyl sulfonate ion. Methyl sulfonate ion, or you can call it as mesylate ion. So it is also very good leaving group. The same story, in the similar way I can explain. The negative charge involves in delocalization. That means the negative charge is not localized on one atom, but it is delocalized over 3 oxygen and sulfur atom, due to which the charge density will be less. If charge density is less, then its ability to attract or react also decreases. Therefore, it is stable. Hence, it is a good leaving group. The best leaving group is trifluoro methyl sulfonate ion. This is the best leaving group, trifluorate ion. Super good leaving group. The best leaving group known is trifluoromethyl sulfonate ion. Right. So compared to these two, when I compare with this, the difference is there are 3 fluorines. Fluorines show minus inductive effect. They show minus inductive effect. Here one fluorine, another fluorine, another fluorine. So the negative charge is further stabilized. Compared to this, because of 3 fluorines, since 3 fluorine shows minus inductive effect, fluorine shows minus inductive effect, the negative charge is further delocalized, further stabilized. Hence, it is very good leaving group, super good leaving group, right? Or in other words, you can say that the corresponding acid CF3SOH is a very strong acid. So strong that its acidic strength is greater than that of sulfuric acid. CF3SO3H, trifluorosulfonic acid, acidic strength is greater than that of sulfuric acid. Therefore, its anion or its conjugate base is very weak conjugate base, or the base is more stabilized by resonance. Hence, it becomes a very, very good leaving group. One more important one we have is So this is 4-methyl benzene sulfonate ion or para-toluene sulfonate ion or simply tosylate ion. Tosylate ion. Here also it involves in resonance, even it can involve in resonance with this benzene pi bonds, hence it is highly stable, therefore it becomes a good leaving group. So a good leaving group is a weak base. If weak base is further stabilized by resonance, then it becomes a super good leaving group. Out of all this, the best leaving group is triflate ion. Next, SN1 reaction. So you can call it as, one represents unimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction. Unimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction. So far we have studied SN2, where 2 stands for bimolecular. Here it is SN1. SN1 reaction takes place in 2 steps. It is a 2-step mechanism. It involves 2 steps. The reaction takes place in 2 steps. The first one is formation of carbocation. The first step involves formation of carbocation. If I want to represent in a simpler way, so we take some alkyl halide, say R3X, right. So this carbon halogen bond is cleaved, resulting in the formation of a carbocation, carbon carrying positive charge, and X minus. Carbon carrying positive charge and X minus. So the first step involves formation of carbocation. Now coming to the second step, attack of nucleophile. Attack of nucleophile. So let us take one simple example for this. The best one is hydrolysis of tertiary butyl chloride or butyl bromide. So hydrolysis of tertiary butyl, CH3 taken thrice, C, chlorine or bromine. So this is tertiary butyl chloride, right, say in presence of water or methanol, right, upon heating. Say I am taking water and heating. So the first step is formation of carbocation. I am writing minus here. The second step is attack of nucleophile. This is the carbocation plus water. Water has nucleophile, sorry, electron pair. So here water donates its electron pair to electrophilic carbon, resulting in the formation of an intermediate oxonium ion. So loss of proton, one proton is removed. We will get tertiary butanol. So here this reaction we call it as hydrolysis of tertiary butyl chloride. Right. Let us study what is happening in each step. So first point, SN1 reaction takes place in two steps. Right. The first one is formation of carbocation. So what is happening in the first step? So in first step, in step 1, that is formation of carbocation. How the carbocation is formed? We are taking an alkyl halide that contains carbon halogen bond. So you are breaking this carbon halogen bond. That means the first step involves breaking of carbon halogen bond. To break a bond, you require energy. To break a bond, you require energy. That is why this reaction takes place at slowest rate. Since this reaction takes place at slowest rate, the rate of overall reaction depends upon this step. That is nothing but slowest step. That is why we call it as rate determining step. We call it as rate determining step because it is the slowest step of these two. We call it as RDS. What is the meaning of RDS? Rate determining step. First point, the overall rate depends upon speed of first step as well as speed of second step. But it doesn't mean that all the steps should take place with same speed. Some first step may be fast, second step may be slow, or first step may be slow, second step may be fast. So there are other factors that influence the speed of that particular reaction, that particular step. The first step is slowest step here because it involves a breaking of carbon halogen bond. It involves breaking of carbon halogen bond. This carbon halogen bond is cleaved. To break the bond, you have to supply energy. That is why this is slowest step because it involves absorption of energy. So that is why we heat it, we boil it. You are supplying energy to break carbon halogen bond. Right, to break this bond, you have to supply energy. So its activation energy is more. That is why it takes place at slower rate. Since this is the slowest step of both, we call it as rate determining step. That means the rate of overall reaction mainly depends upon the speed of first reaction. The rate of overall reaction mainly depends upon slowest step. The speed of the slowest step. That is why we call it as rate determining step. Right. Now, how many molecules are involving in the first step? Right. If you see carefully, there is only one molecule, that is nothing but alkyl halide. So applying law of mass action, rate of reaction is directly proportional to concentration of reactant. How many reactants we have? Only one. What is that? Alkyl halide. So rate of reaction is directly proportional to alkyl halide. I am writing general representation of alkyl halide, that is Rx. Is there any other molecule? No. Why I am asking? In SN2 we have both alkyl halides as well as nucleophile. But here the attack of nucleophile can only takes place in the second step, not in the first step. So rate of reaction is independent of, rate of reaction does not depend upon the concentration of the nucleophile. Here it depends only upon the concentration of alkyl halide. So to the power 1, this you will study in kinetics. So rate of reaction is directly proportional to concentration of alkyl halide. So K into Rx. There is only one molecule is involving, therefore it is a first order reaction. with respect to this step, first order reaction. How many molecules are participating here? Only one molecule. That is why we call it as unimolecular reaction. It is a unimolecular reaction. That is why we write one here. One represent unimolecular reaction. In RDS, in rate determining step, in the slowest step, only one molecule is participating. Right. Coming to the second step. The attack of nucleophile takes place, or the nucleophile participate in fast second step. Why I am calling fast? Because here it involves formation of bonds. Nowhere it involves breaking of bonds. So formation of bonds only mostly. Therefore, the attack of nucleophile. Now remember, we are not taking nucleophile separately. The solvent itself acts as nucleophile. That is one more important point. Right. Anyway, here the solvent itself acts as nucleophile. The attack of nucleophile on carbocation takes place in fast second step. So this is the fast second step. Since this is fast step, rate depends, but orally depends upon slowest step, right. So it moves at faster speed, it does not influence, it does not affect the rate of overall reaction. So rate we do not consider the speed of this fast step. Rate mainly depends upon that step which takes more time, which takes place at slower rate. That is why we call it as rate determining step. So this is not rate determining step, right. So it takes place at considerable speed. So you do not have to bother about the dependence of rate or kinetics of this particular step. So here attack of nucleophile takes place in the fast second step. Now one more thing, the nucleophile is also solvent. The solvent itself is nucleophile. In SN2 we have a nucleophile and solvent. Nucleophile and solvent, because in SN2 nucleophilicity plays important role. Here the nucleophilicity does not play important role. That is why the nucleophile is itself is a solvent, or the solvent itself acts as a nucleophile. All it has to do is donate a pair of electron, because it already carries positive charge. So the solvent itself is nucleophile, or the nucleophile itself is solvent, right. Because of this because of this particular point, that the solvent itself is a nucleophile, the solvent itself acts as a nucleophile, SN1 reactions we call them as Solvolysis reactions. SN1 reactions are also known as Solvolysis, because the nucleophile is also solvent, or the solvent itself acts as a nucleophile. What is the solvent here? Water. Therefore, solvolysis means hydrolysis. So that is why what I have written here, hydrolysis or solvolysis of tertiary butyl chloride. In general, we call it as solvolysis, because always you do not have to take water, you can take ethyl alcohol, you can take methyl alcohol. So the general word is solvolysis. If I take water, you can call it as hydrolysis. Right. So once again, the nucleophile participate in the fast second step. The nucleophile concentration is important, but since this is fast reaction, the rate does not depend upon the concentration of the nucleophile. The nucleophile itself is a solvent. Anyway, you will take solvent in excess quantity, large quantity, right. So the rate will be independent of molar concentration. Right. So next thing, it does not depend upon the nucleophilicity, right, like SN2 reactions. So if I plot a graph for this reaction, if I plot a graph, say energy versus reaction path, reaction path or reaction coordinate, right? So so this is the energy profile diagram. Here we have reactants. So I will take this general equation. So we have the alkyl halide R3CX plus nucleophile here. So this is the energy of reactants, average energy of reactants, right? Now here you will get carbocation R3C plus, here you will get the final products R3C Nu plus X minus, right? So this is the activation energy for the formation of intermediate delta E1. This is the activation energy from intermediate to product. So first step is conversion of this reactant alkyl halide to carbocation. This is the first step. Second step, conversion of this carbocation to corresponding product. So this is the activation energy of second step. So what is this activation energy? We will study in kinetics. The energy difference between these two, that is reactant and product, we call it as delta H, enthalpy of reaction, delta H. So mostly delta H is negative, it should be negative, exothermic in nature. The reaction delta H is less than 0, so it is exothermic. Reaction takes place at some moderate speed, at certain moderate speed, if the formed carbocation is stable, right? So let us come back to this, right? The first step involves breaking of carbon halogen bond, resulting in the formation of carbocation. Since this is the slow step, the rate of overall reaction mainly depends upon this step. So if the stability of carbocation is more, if the stability of carbocation is more, then the first step takes place easily. That means this activation energy will be less. Why? Because the obtained carbocation is stable. Or let us see in a different way. If the obtained carbocation is less stable, if it is less stable, then you have to apply more energy, because you are changing from more stable state to less stable state. In any way, that is what happens, but it depends upon the stability of carbocation. If carbocation is less stable, then this activation energy will be more, then you have to supply more energy. If carbocation is more stable, then this activation energy will be less, then you have to supply less energy. If you supply less energy, then the rate of reaction will be more, because it is leading to stable carbocation, right? Anyway, just before this we have studied that charge is bad, whether it is positive charge or negative charge. Here carbon carries which charge? Positive charge. If there is any substituent which decreases the magnitude of the positive charge, then the stability of carbocation increases. If the stability of carbocation increases, then the rate of SN1 reaction increases, right? So what are the substituents which increases the stability of carbocation? They have to decrease the magnitude of positive charge, that means they have to pump the electron density. So now you know which group pumps the electron density, they are nothing but alkyl groups. More the substituted alkyl groups on alkyl halide, more stable will be the cation, because the substituted alkyl groups, they pump electron density to the carbocation by positive inductive effect plus inductive effect, thereby decreases the magnitude of positive charge. So that is why we are taking tertiary halide. So why we are taking tertiary halide here? Why not primary halide? The reason is stability of carbocation. Suppose if I take a primary alkyl halide, If I break this bond, I will get carbocation, no doubt. But the question is it stable? What is the difference? The difference is this is a primary carbocation, this is a tertiary carbocation. There are no substituents which decreases the positive charge. Therefore, this carbocation is highly unstable, less stable, let us say, highly unstable. Now here the carbon also carries the same positive charge, but see the substituents. Here you have alkyl groups. What they do? They pump the electron into the carbocation by inductive effect. Positive inductive effect. Thereby decreases the positive charge. The magnitude of positive charge will be less on this carbon compared to a primary carbon. That is why a tertiary carbocation is more stable than primary carbocation. So, which type of substrates, alkyl halides, will readily undergo SN1 reaction? The one which is more alkylated. In SN2 reaction, it is opposite. The one which is less alkylated, because if it is more alkylated, it is not a good substrate for SN2, it is a good substrate for SN1 because the carbocation is more stable. So, it is a good substrate for SN1. Which one? More alkylated alkyl halide. It is not good substrate for SN1. What is the reason? The reason is the bulkiness of this group. See the bulkiness here. If I write like this, in the first step itself, the nucleophile has to attack in SN2. I am talking about SN2. Right? Because of the bulkiness, the space is less. Therefore, more alkylated substrates or alkyl halides are not good substrates for SN2 reaction, but are good substrate for SN1 reaction. So, SN1 SN2 reactivity order of alkyl halides will be opposite. So, if I write the stability order based upon this or reactivity order, primary alkyl halides are less reactive because primary carbocation is less stable than RCH2 plus than. More the alkyl groups, more stable. So, this is primary methyl carbocation, primary, secondary. So, secondary approximately equal to allyl halide. We will study this as we proceed. Allyl halide is more stable, so they are more reactive. The next one is aromatic halides, say C6 benzyl halides. Benzyl carbocation is more stable, which is approximately equal or slightly less than a tertiary carbocation. So, this is the stability order of carbocations. So, corresponding alkyl halides reactivity also increases in this order. Tertiary alkyl halides are more reactive, whereas CH3 halides, methyl halides are less reactive. right? This order is opposite to that of SN2 order. Stability order of cations and reactivity order of corresponding halides towards SN1 reaction.